was pleased to find the living room unoccupied when she wandered in after making her bed. One of the few chores required of the guests at the farm. The overcast day outside held no appeal for her. Neither did the company of her cousins. She could hear them calling now and then from the direction of the barn, but she hadn't been asked to join in helping with whatever it was that Michael had in mind for creating a dark room. Aunt Lil was stirring about the kitchen, rattling pans and whirling beaters. Uncle Axel was working in the garage. From old Pa's room, fragments of game shows, soap operas, and comedy reruns were chattering from the TV, in irregular spurts, as he switched channels at random, even lingering on the one with the static buzz of a even lingering a while on the static buzz of a vacant book, as if they were all the same to him. Annabelle scanned the bookshelves that flanked the big fireplace on either side. To her delight, she spotted a copy of an old friend tucked away in the corner of the top shelf, Sheila Burnford's The Incredible Journey. For the next hour or more, she was lost in the wilderness adventures of the Labrador, the Bulldog, and the Siamese cat as they trekked their way home across Canada. When she came up for air at last, she had a much better feeling about the chances of the cat in the Peterson woods. Also, sunshine was pouring in through the windows, and a heavenly fragrance filled the house. She set her book aside and followed her nose to the kitchen. Several dozen cookies of assorted kinds were cooling on the newspaper-covered table, and 2 pans of freshly frosted brownies sat on racks on the counter. Aunt Lil, a chair drawn up to the wall faux, had the receiver pressed to her ear, smiled at her and mouthed, "Help you some." Annabelle selected 3 of her favorite kind, chocolate chip. Then, rather than stand eating them at the table as if she were listening to Aunt Lil's phone conversation, she strolled on back through the entryway and out onto the steps. A warning yell stopped her in her tracks. Michael heard it from nowhere, to scoop up a camera lying nearly under her foot. "Hey, Clarabelle, what are you doing?" Todd, trailed by Donna, emerged from the side porch. "Can't you watch where you plant those clodhoppers?" Annabelle felt her face redden. "That's a dumb place to leave a camera." Michael scowled, turning the camera in his hands, examining it for non-existent damage. "Who knew you were coming with us?" "Coming where?" Annabelle asked. "Michael!" Donna shot her brother a silencing look and glanced brightly at Annabelle. "Where'd you get the cookies?" Annabelle set her jaw. How stupid that they think she was. "Where are you going?" "She got them from Grandma, naturally," Todd said. "Go get us a bag full to take along, Mike. Tell her we're going for a hike." Annabelle stepped down to let Michael pass, but she kept her eyes fixed on Donna. "A hike where?" Donna shrugged. "She can come if she wants, can't she?" Todd mounted the step. Todd mounted the step Annabelle had just vacated, and a move that brought his face level with hers. "If you can keep your mouth shut about it." Donna dropped her voice. "We're going to have a look at the haunted house." Oh, I see. A windmill flutter spun inside of Annabelle. It was as if she had stepped off solid ground into a boggy place where she didn't want to be. "Thought your grandpa told us not to go there." "He said he didn't want to hear about it." Tom spread his legs, rocking on his heels as if cowboy boots, on the heels of the cowboy boots he wore. The emblazoned back eagles on them reflected his glare. "If he does hear about it, I guess we'll know who told him." Annabelle munched down the last of her cookies. cookies without tasting it. She couldn't choose not to go now. They would rent her a goody-goody or a chicken. It's not that big a deal, Donna said. We just want to see it. We're not going to hurt anything. You can come or not, whichever you want to. Sure. Okay. And we'll step down onto the grass with them, hoping her lack of enthusiasm didn't show. Silly of her not to be ecstatic about receiving so heartfelt an invitation. Michael pushed out the door, a bulging brown paper bag in one hand, a half-consumed brownie in the other. Grandma says for Todd not to get himself overtired, he reported as Todd and Donna dug into the bag. Well, maybe we should just take a distress flag to run up in an emergency, seeing as we'll have our own walking flagpole, Todd suggested. Everyone thought it was funny, but Annabelle. She brought up the rear as the hike got underway. Todd, of course, was in the lead. He headed not for the woods behind the barn as she somehow expected, but across the yard and straight out to the road. He waved a bag of cookies, now in his possession. He waved the bag of cookies, now in his possession, on the way past the open garage where his grandfather was filling the gas tank of the lawnmower. Uncle Axel grinned, including Annabelle in his nod, as an indication that she was forgiven for the unpleasantness of breakfast. Annabelle found it harder to forgive him. If he could have shown just a little fairness, if he hadn't been in such a hurry to condemn her out of hand, they would none of them be getting themselves mixed up in this. Then she wondered where that thought had come from. Mixed up in what? As Donna said, it was no big deal. They weren't going to hurt anything, and nobody really believed in ghosts, especially not in broad daylight. So why did it feel like her stomach had goose flesh for a lining? Todd was not a fast walker. She had to keep reminding herself to shorten her stride to avoid drifting ahead of him as the procession ambled along the edge of the blacktop road. This is the way toward town, Michael objected. I thought the lake was the other way. So what do you want to do? Paint a sign, we're going to the cottage? Todd asked. As soon as the dips and curves of the road hid them from view of the farm, he cut off at an angle onto an overgrown meadow. Donna sidestepped a patch of knee-high thistles. How far is this cottage? A couple of miles, maybe, by the road. Tom smacked his lips, polishing off another cookie. Lucky for you, I know a shorter trail. He trembled onto the woods at the meadow's far end, and Annabelle and the others followed. It was a minute or two before Annabelle realized they were actually on a trail of sorts. Probably it was an old logging trail, and plainly one long unused. The two thinly gravelled beds were nearly obscured by the broad-leafed weeds and woody brush growing up between them. Michael was fingering the camera strap around his neck. I hope the sun stays out until we get there. I want to get some good pictures. Todd rolled his pale eyes at the branches overhead. In raspy whisper he said, Why not hope for the creepy pictures? Why not hope for creepy pictures? Maybe we'll get one of a ghost. Ghosts show up in photographs, you know. Well, that would be a more unsettling idea, Annabelle thought, as if lances of sunlight weren't gleaming through the leaves and birds weren't singing everywhere, or so she told herself. I'll tell you what I think is creepy, Donna said. That's old Pa. He's like a zombie. He's just like a zombie. I don't see why Grandma wanted to bring him to live here. What happened to the little house he had in town? Michael asked. I always thought it was kind of neat. Donna swatted at a mosquito. It's sold, or rented, or something, I guess. After he got sick last summer and had to go to the hospital, Grandma said he couldn't live by himself anymore. She could have put him in a nursing home, though, even if he is her father. She should have pulled the plug on him while he was in the hospital. I would. Todd stopped to work a long stick free from the He was always a creep. I remember one time me and my folks were up here for Christmas, and what and what's he kept running off at the mouth to me about? How pine needles are flat and firs are pointed, or whichever, wanting to make out that he's a big man because he used to work in the woods. It's fir needles that are flat and pines that are pointed, Annabelle murmured. She couldn't resist. Todd glared at her over his shoulder. Who made you the expert? I read it in a book. She pulled a tuft of needles from a poking branch out over the trail. See? These are sharp, and they're three-sided. That means they're some kind of pine. They're growing in a bundle, too. Fir needles grow side by side. Donna and Michael pressed in closer to look. Michael took the needles from her to inspect them more carefully. She's right, he marveled. I never noticed that before. Todd knocked his stick against the tree root. Stupendous! Now tell us where Oscar Peterson buried the body, Clarabelle. With a chuckle, Michael tossed the pine needles away and fell into step beside Todd again. Maybe she can. She knew the name of the ghost cat, remember? What if she's, how do you call it, psychic? It was an accident, a coincidence, Annabelle said hastily, but she wasn't altogether comfortable on that point herself. I just made up a name to go with him. Our neighbors had a dog once named Macduff. I'm sure an accidental coincidence. Or maybe you heard it from old Pa and thought you put on a big show. Todd kicked through the twig and leaf debris on the trail, swinging his stick from side to side. Too bad old Paul didn't warn you that he was our grandpa's dad, and that made him, well, that it was our grandpa's dad that made them into ghosts. That was that old gal and her cat. Blam, blam, thirsty time. Shouldn't be having the coffee I'm having. I'm not very good at renal diets. Could be having tea. Hey, watch it! Donna jumped back as a wild sweep of the stick narrowly missed clipping her ankle. You watch it. The stick flattened a fern in the path. I got killer blood in me. Smart killer blood. Too smart to get caught. Don't mess with me. Grandma didn't say he killed somebody. She said there was talk. Talk doesn't make it true, Don said from a discreet distance behind him. No? Why do you think got Grandpa so ticked off this morning? You could bet he believes it's true. Michael dodged to the side and hauled a birch branch similar to Todd's stick from a tangle of fallen branches. Did you ever look at that picture by the clock upstairs? He asked, beginning to whack the brush too. That's Grandpa's father. He sure looks mean enough to kill. Annabelle reflected that he was her grandpa's father too. That photograph, with its tight lips and set jaw and the strange watching eyes. What secret knowledge lay behind those eyes when the picture was taken? Knowledge beyond the reach, now, of anyone. So you would look mean? Probably, if nobody ever believed you, she said, feeling a sting of a kindred wound. Because they knew better, Tom insisted. He was a killer. So am I. Bug me, baby, and you're dead. His stick demolished a clump of a small, perfect trillium. At the cry of protest from Donna and Annabelle both, he lurched into the run, beating the foliage right and left, yelling, kill, kill, kill. Michael charged after him, smashing, trampling, whooping, kill, kill, kill. Annabelle knelt beside the broken trilliums. She had seen them in books, but never real ones growing wild. Ones that had been growing wild. She'd corrected herself. Oh, had been. At least the boys chimes were making noise enough that any unwary rabbit or ground nesting bird or hidden fawn too close to the trail should have ample warning to get out of the way. She had a sickening vision of her cat, Muffin, in the path of grinning drivers, chanting "kill, kill, kill," as he gunned his engine. "You guys, Todd, Michael!" Donna's voice did not carry full approval either. Her indignation slid into a higher pitch as the galloping figures vanished around the bend. "Hey, wait for us!" She set off at a run. Annabelle did likewise. On open ground, she could have outdistanced Donna in a few strides, and caught up with the boys and not so many more. Here in the woods it was different. She was slowed by having to dodge or to duck or to push aside any number of drooping branches that Donna passed beneath without so much as bowing her head. Annabelle was soon glad of Donna's yellowed jeans. They were a patch of light to follow. They were in a patch of light to follow even where the trees shut out the sun entirely, reducing the trail to a dim tunnel. She knew a moment of panic when the jeans too disappeared. Then the trees thinned, and there was Donna again. She was off the trail, struggling through a thicket of hazel brush toward a sunny openings beyond. "You guys," she shouted, "where are you?" "Over here," came Michael's voice, echoed by an impatient, "Are you females coming or aren't you?" from Todd. Todd sounded wheezy, Annabelle thought. Perhaps it wasn't smart for a boy with asthma to race around like a mad fiend in the woods. She wasted no hurry on the thought, but scrambled in pursuit of Donna. "Oh man, I've been recording with the microphone way over there. I'll probably have to redo this chapter." Well, see, that's the problem with being a grandma. Things up like this all the time. I mess things up all the time. Well, guys, what do we do? Do we finish? Well, we might as well finish. And just hope that it turned out fairly well. If not, I will have rehearsed. She wasted no worry on the thought, but scrambled in pursuit of Donna. Extra height was an advantage here. The taller bushes were over Donna's head, but Annabelle could see above them and steer a straighter course. Before they gained the clearing where the boys were, Annabelle was breaking the way for Donna, and Donna seemed glad to have her do it. They found Todd seated on a crumbling log, devouring a chocolate chip cookie sandwiched between two of oatmeal. "Give me a cookie," Donna said. "I need it." Todd crammed the second half of his sandwich into his mouth and shook his head. "Too late," he said thickly. "All gone." He crumpled the paper bag and tossed it behind the log. It occurred to Annabelle that his wheezing might not be asthma, but plain overweight. She turned her eyes from him to Michael, who was performing a particular back-and-forth, side-to-side zigzag in the center of the clearing while he squinted into his camera. She thought at first that he was trying for a shot of a dense brush as big as a tree and loaded with purple blossoms. Lilacs this late in the season? Well, their time was long gone in Chicago before she left home. But hadn't she read that the advance of spring was delayed a week for every 100 miles north? Well, by that reckoning, it was still May here, not June. All the same, ancient lilac alone, in a clearing at the North Woods, was an oddity. Not until she walked on nearly to where Michael was did the house slide into sight. Annabel haunted. She did not know that she had... Well, Annabel haunted. She did not know what she had expected. A sinister Victorian mansion, perhaps, with mysterious turrets, sagging balconies, and festoons of moss-grown gingerbread. What she saw was a simple story-and-a-half cottage of narrow clapboards, weathered to a dull silver. No turrets, no gingerbread. The closest thing to a balcony was a low porch, which did have a decided outward sag. The porch steps were gone altogether, so it was a sizable corner of a porch roof. The heavy branch that had done the job lay in a pile of debris below. Otherwise, except for a broken shutter hanging askew and 2 or 3 shattered panes gaping black beside the screen of intact squares in the windows, the house appeared remarkably untouched by time. A semicircle of pines protected it on every side but the south, and the carpet of needles they had laid down over the years had the effect of a recently trimmed, if somewhat brownish, lawn. The place was awash in sunlight, not a sinister shadow anywhere. "Got it," Mike said with satisfaction. He lowered his camera and started forward. "This is the haunted house?" Donna sounded disappointed. "I thought it was supposed to be a lake cottage. Where's the lake?" "It's down behind the trees about half a block," Todd jostled past Annabel and crossed in front of Michael, once more taking the lead. "Can we get inside, do you think?" Michael asked. "Sure, why not? The doors aren't locked." Donna bounded ahead to walk alongside Todd. "How come you know so much about this place?" "I come over here with my grandpa and my dad a couple of times one summer, and then I came by myself. Grandpa keeps trying to sell the property, but the deals always fall through." Michael stared around them. Stared around them. "How could Grandma sell it? Does this belong to him?" "Naturally. He told me his father bought it for the taxes years ago." Todd shrilled a gleeful whinny. Jesus Christ. "See what I told you? Old Oscar Peterson got rid of the old bag, got her property, and got off scot-free. That's my kind of smart." He sprinted the remaining distance to the porch and made a clumsy leap up onto it. Annabel scuffled through the pine needles in silence. She did not want to go inside. Gooseflesh was beginning to pepper her stomach lining again. Silly maybe, but real. Her foot skidded on the slippery needles as she went down hard on her knee. Twisted ankle flashed through her mind. Can't go on, mustn't be moved. Her cousins didn't stop to see if she was hurt. The 3 of them were on the porch now, stepping cautiously from one to another of its warped planks. Todd knocked ostentatiously on the door and gave it a push. It swung in, squealing its reluctance. Annabel discovered her ankle was not twisted. She stumbled to her feet. Much as she didn't want to go inside, she wanted even less to be left behind. She was on the porch and almost treading on Michael's heels in 2 jumps. That same instant, drifting clouds shut out the sun. End of chapter 3.